Hi, I'm Bob Batch, Executive Director for Prime Plus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob. And I am with a guy who I've not told him this, so I'm going to go ahead and go public. I have more respect for this guy than anybody else that I know. He's an awesome family man, a dad, and a focused public servant for many, many years. I think he was born in public service. Jim Redick, the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Norfolk. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Bob. Thanks for having me, and certainly the feeling is mutual.
Well, I was thinking, getting ready for this, doing my deep research, sleeping and thinking about Jim Redick. And I'm thinking, I remember the first time I met him, Marcus Jones, city manager, brought you in to kind of critique how we did.
Yes, sir.
And next thing we know, we're waking you up to say there's a hurricane coming up and you're going to control it for the city of Norfolk.
Well, I can't say you woke me up. But it's been fantastic being part of a team and working with you. We go way back, and it's certainly a pleasure being with you here today.
Got all kinds of memories. I almost put my mermaid jacket on that I think I slept in and worked in for about 48 hours during the storm, and then went on TV with it. And those are really, I mean, when you talk to Red Cross emergency management people or FEMA people, there's fond memories and building community really and doing those kinds in the old-fashioned way of preparing for an emergency, wasn't there?
Right. Well, and building those relationships as we prepare for emergencies, and certainly when we're in the heat of the battle during emergencies, you really build these strong bonds. Mm-hmm. And you see the best of people and the worst of people during disasters. And quite frankly, I've seen a lot better than I have worse. And again, you just foster those relationships and they really grow strong bonds that last lifetimes.
Well, and through training and preparation, it's like muscle memory. I mean, I got to tell you, I had a flashback. I saw you and immediately said, oh my gosh, my kit's not ready. And here we are almost halfway through hurricane season. But we still have to kind of worry about, I mean, there are predictable things that you can do to get prepared for a hurricane, right?
Right. I mean, and like we were talking before, whether there's a pandemic or not, storms are going to come, flooding is going to come. And so you still need those items that'll keep you prepared for an extended period of time. So you need water, you need perishable food items. You may lose power. You may very well lose power for an extended period of time. And unless you have those essentials, you're going to be causing some problems for yourself.
And that COVID toilet paper and paper towels you bought, you can still use during a hurricane.
You can, yes, add toilet paper to that list of items, but only enough that you need, not the whole store full.
Right. Now, I mean, if you've already bought them, don't buy more. So,
right, exactly.
So the city, though, come June, storm drains get cleaned out still?
Yes, they do. Yeah, our public works crews do a fantastic job making sure that the storm drains are cleared out, the pump stations are working. And they do that periodically, not just at the beginning of hurricane season, but throughout, and definitely even before a storm is forecasted to arrive, they'll be out there again, making sure that there's no footballs stuck in the pump stations like we've had in the past, and other debris, making sure that it's as clear as possible to process all that water.
So there's the FEMA binder you can go through.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
it's on the website too. So you, as a family member, you can do that. Develop that family plan. See, I know all that. I still remember
exactly.
all this.
That's awesome, Bob.
So as we tape this, there's 3 storms coming up.
Right.
So what are you guys doing to get ready for those 3 storms?
Well, so since hurricane started in June 1st, we've always been at our hurricane readiness condition 5, and that's to keep going through our plans, making sure contact information is accurate, making sure our plans are in place, and And
I mentioned family, man. Let them come by.
That's right. Callie, say hi.
That's our new world.
It is, and I will say I'm proud of her wearing a Bengal towel from having been outside in the rain. So, but I mean, Callie, please stop. So that's what we're trying to do is we're making sure that those plans are in place, but also incorporating the element of COVID. And so really the only thing that changes, and let me just back up, we will continue to address that most immediate threat. So while we encourage social distancing, I know that may not always be possible because of a more impending threat, that being a storm. So, you know, we look at sheltering a little differently now. We look at evacuations a little differently now, but we're still going to do what we have to do to address that most immediate threat.
So do what you normally do, just have to do it differently. That's kind of been our motto at Prime Plus.
Right.
Now, your daughter coming in brings back, I mean, a lot of the shelter identification, the safest high spots are schools, but with schools being closed.
Right. So that's right now, that's less of a burden trying to schedule around school hours because they are closed right now. And that may change, and we don't know when, but we're prepared for that. So we have some other facilities that are identified that can accommodate. And we're even working with hotels for non-congregate sheltering for those who may be symptomatic.
I was teasing you at the beginning about waking you up because there's a weather event coming. It's going to snow. But that's part of the predictability of planning for a pending disaster. Thank goodness for technology because we can predict that there's a storm coming and there's things that you can put in place.
Right.
But already your conversation's a little different than when I used to have you on Norfolk Perspectives because we could be laser focused on getting ready for that pending storm. But you've mentioned unprovoked numerous times already the impact of a pandemic.
Right.
So where were you on March 12th when that notice went out saying the world is closing?
I was in the office, and we were certainly having conversations with our policy group, being Dr. Filer, our city manager, our deputy city managers, our director of communications, and myself, as well as human resources, kind of talking through what needed to be done based on the guidance, recommendations, and executive orders from the governor's office. I've had a lot of conversations with Dr. Lindsay from Public Health, who's been tracking, doing contact tracing, doing testing, trying to do everything that we can collectively as one unit, one team, to address the issue and make sure that we take the necessary steps to protect staff and certainly our businesses, our residents, and our visitors.
Jim, this is going to ultimately be the ultimate compliment, but I can tell you where I was on March 12th. I was in a meeting with the Friends of Norfolk Animal Care, and there were some city employees saying, wait a minute, there's an emergency alert. We're closing. And it was kind of like that, okay, this is the third hurricane come up the coast. It's really not going to hit us. And part of me was saying, do they realize how devastating this is going to be to us? I mean, this is closing the world down.
And you know what?
We don't really know.
Right. And
how hard was it to make that decision?
It's difficult, but that's really the nature of emergency management. You have to make some very critical decisions based on very limited data.
You evacuate a town at 80 degrees and bright sunshine.
Right. And so all you can do is err on the side of safety and really analyze the information that you do have and make the best decision. And right then, the best decision was to do what was necessary to protect staff as well as the businesses and the community as a whole.
You do realize that the first communications alluded to 2 weeks.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
Right. But, it's kind of interesting because I think that's wishful. Because again, going back to what you said about how critical of a decision that is and how impactful to the community, I think there was a false optimism that it would be done within 2 weeks. But I can tell you, of all the plans that I've read and all the books that I've read involving pandemics, it's always a lot longer than 2 weeks.
But Jim, okay, so for 5 days we get ready for the hurricane to come up the coast, unless it's a real slow mover. Right. We buckle down for maybe 36 hours and say, it wasn't that bad. And the next day, crystal blue sky, low humidity, awesome, and you go out there and clean up, and the next day you mow. And then you're back to normal.
Right.
You going to do that for us on this one?
Well, you know what? You hope that that's the case, but you plan for the worst. I mean, we always worry that complacency sets in because we've been lucky enough to have missed those storms. Florence was going to be a bad one. It veered off. The storm after that was going to be a bad one, and it veered off. So, I mean, while we're thankful for North Carolina and its geography, and which helps move some of the storms off coast before it hits us, it has happened before here, and it certainly will again. So I worry about that complacency. That certainly won't always be the case where the storm comes and goes within 36 hours. There will be sadness with a future storm, and I hope folks understand that and can be ready for that. And so we'll continue to preach that, and hopefully will be more resilient because of it.
Yeah, and I know that by the end of hurricane season, there's that fatigue sets in, and life will go back to normal. And I think that's been part of the psyche of our. I know the people that we work with at Prime Plus. This is going to get over with, but when? And I think
Right.
that fatigue starts setting in. So what do you have? What words of wisdom do you have for that person who's waiting for the storm to pass, and this one's going to be here for a long time?
I mean, we're right there with you. But all we can do is, and all we do is continuously look for ways that we can improve our plans. We can't just stop planning for it. It is going to be here for the long haul. And so you try to mix things up. I mean, we have staff that we can put in different positions so they have a fresh perspective and can have that career development. But just doing things like that and just looking for ways of improvement and otherwise dealing with something that's going to be with us for a while. I mean, you hate the word that, the new normal, but I wonder if this is the new normal and this is something that's going to be with us for years to come.
Yeah.
It's just, we have to, semper gumby, we have to be forever flexible and adapt and move on.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea that your daughter came in. Of course, she's supposed to be at school.
Well, she is. Apparently, they're on a break right now.
So she's on what?
Yeah, yes, they take breaks. So.
Son of a gun. But that is the new norm.
Right. She's just down the hallway in school, virtually with her and her classmates.
Now, when I pulled out, we're taping this on a Thursday. Right. So when I got outside, I realized, oops, I forgot it was Thursday, and I had to stop and take my trash out. So life kind of is on its same cycle. How is the city adjusting to that?
Well, work never really stopped. I mean, so when we, when the city was closed, business-wise and building-wise, transactions still continued. Folks could still do things online. And those who are critical staff, I mean, for those mission-critical functions, just to keep the city operating, they've continued. So trash collection continues, recycling continues. Human services, adoptions of people and pets. I mean, all that continues. It's just we're doing it in a different way. We're not in the physical buildings. We're doing it virtually. Some do have to go to the office physically, and they're doing what they need to do, and they're also practicing their social distancing and PPE when possible. But for the most part, those who can work from home have been working from home, and quite frankly, that may continue with even if the pandemic stops, because I think we're finding some efficiencies in operating this way, and financially down the road, we may be able to give up even some of the spaces that we lease or own because it's just more effective and productive having folks work from their homes.
I will make a confession in the last 30 seconds we have. I'm sitting here with a golf shirt on and shorts, but I'm working.
Nice. That's it. You know what?
I see the blazer.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm wearing shorts as well. And never has been more true. The motto, work is what you do, not where you do it. And so, we're doing it.
There you go. And I will tell you, I'll close out by saying that I have just found out that my full-time retirement has been delayed at least 10 years because I'm not allowed to go home. Because in that 4 months I was working from home, my wife kept saying I'm too loud.
Right.
You guys never complained about how loud I was at the EOC until I fell asleep.
You're right.
Jim, thank you for being that great public servant, husband, and dad. So now make sure her recess is over with.
I will absolutely do that post haste.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on, Bob.
And keep in mind, stay safe and stay connected. Thanks a lot.